Hello, I'm Tony Pearson-Young and welcome to the Dulux Academy podcast. It's been a very difficult year for us all, but even more difficult to run a business through this lockdown. Today, we're discussing the lessons of what the small business owner can take from the bigger businesses and what the corporate world can learn from the smaller business. I'm joined by Alistair McAuley, the Managing Director of AkzoNobel UK and Ireland, as well as Matt and Andy Ross from Southgrove Painting Contractors, and Steve Trebilcook from Refresh Property Services. Firstly, I'd like to ask you all to tell us a little bit about yourselves and the businesses that you lead. Alistair.
Tony. Well, first of all, great to be here in the Dulux Academy in sunny Slough, surrounded by walls that have been painted in brave ground, our colour of the year. Got to get that plug in to start with. And also participating in the podcast that we've talked so much about. So, yep, as you say, Alistair McAuley, manage the UK and Ireland business, AkzoNobel. Been in the painting industry for 25 years now. So I know I don't look it. I'll quote that one for you. Based here in Slough, but manage the UK and Ireland.
Thank you. And Matt, if I could ask the same for yourself.
Yeah, morning, Tony. Morning, chaps. Matt from Southgrove Painting, based in Watford. We work all over the southeast, and I've been with Southgrove for 20 years.
Excellent. And Steve.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having us. I run Refresh Property Services. We've recently changed the name to RPS Decor to make it more obvious as to what our services offer. And as you know, Dulux Select decorator and panel member. I'd just like to say a proud member of the scheme.
Thanks, everyone. Now we want to turn to a few questions about 2020, a year like no other, I'm sure you'll all agree. So, Alistair, if I may start with you, what has been your biggest learning running the business in this year?
How to make decisions very, very quickly without all of the information in front of me. So, obviously, you've been part of those decisions, Tony, as is everybody in the academy, but listening to what the government have to say about the challenges that we need to face into and trying to take the right course of action to protect our people, but also to be able to serve our customers brilliantly. So that's been a really, really big challenge. And I'll never, ever forget that final week in March when chaos unleashed on the whole of the UK and everybody was looking to us for leadership, for guidance, for empathy. And we had to make some pretty tough calls. And to be quite honest, we didn't always get them right, but we've certainly learned from that, and hopefully now we can make much quicker decisions as a result of it. Yeah,
do you feel that when you make these decisions, you put a huge amount of pressure on yourself because of the implications it can have?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you make a decision, I'm an eternal optimist, as you know, so I'll always think of the positives, but you also think what could go wrong in making those decisions. So a really simple one is, do we close the stores or not? There's 1,600 people in the stores, and if we close the stores, we can't service 80,000 customers. It's quite a big decision to make on a Monday evening. And then also, do we bring people into the office, and can we create an environment for those people to be able to operate safely? And as you well know, we're a people business, and I really get my energy from the people around me. So therefore, I really want people in the office, but only if it's safe to be able to do so.
Yeah, I completely understand. And Andy, if I could also ask you, what's your biggest learning from running the business that you have?
Hi, Tony. Great to be here. Relationships are key. We've learned a lot from that in the last kind of 6 to 9 months. We've always worked hard on relationships and maintaining them and working at them, but we've learned that we need to do more and be more closer to everyone, our clients, our customers, even the banks. The banks are very important to us now. And before, I guess we weren't really close to our banks. So, yeah, definitely relationships are really important.
Oh, cool. That's a good perspective, because if you build on those relationships, then you know where everyone's up to. You can talk to each other.
We can talk to each other. There's had to be a lot of flexibility, hasn't there? So being able to talk to the likes of Dulux and the banks and talk about terms and conditions and payments and stuff has been really important, really key.
Excellent, thank you. And finally, Steve, I'll ask you the same question if I can.
I'd probably agree, actually, with Andy and say relationships. we've learned a lot as a business this year. You can't take anything for granted, especially with the current situation. You've got to keep communication high on the list. If you're not communicating with your clients, it's very quickly or very obvious that they will either make other arrangements or simply just walk away. So you have to negotiate with them, keep them up to speed with movements, what's going on with the government, etc. And obviously, if you don't allow communication to be a priority, I can't see that business for you will succeed.
No, I have to agree there. So, Matt, we've all had to find new ways of working and had to be a bit more flexible. So, what have you had to do with your business to be adaptive to the situation?
For us, it was the flexibility with how we operated within the office. Fortunately for us, right at the start of the year, we invested a lot of capital into our IT system to get it into sort of 2021, 2020. And fortunately for us, when lockdown happened, we had those tools and that flexibility to still work from home, work on the road, work from anywhere, just, maintaining the business from basically the pocket, which was very, very handy.
Very fortunate you got the timing on that just right then.
It's all about timing.
Alistair, with the large decisions that you've had to make, and you said some very large decisions that could have huge implications, but of those decisions, what's been one of your biggest successes?
Trying to ensure that we get our paint to our customers no matter what. So quite simply, we couldn't open the stores when our customers were calling for the stores to be open. But we very quickly managed to get a call and collect service up and running to be able to service customers, contractors and decorators like these guys here, who were still very, very active on site and desperate for paint. So I was really pleased with the way the business responded so quickly to be able to turn around what at the time was quite a catastrophic situation for all of us to be in. And that happened within a matter of days, really. So really proud of how the team stepped up and turned that one around.
Yeah, because we all kind of think about the offices and things like that where we had to go into lockdown, but there's obviously the manufacturing process as well. So when people were still requiring products to do the jobs, how could we supply that when the factories...
Yeah, well, the factories, in fairness, the factories have stayed running throughout the whole crisis. It's changed a lot because they now have to socially distance. So we're slower at making paint than we once were, which has proved a challenge in terms of servicing this demand that's gone through the roof in certain areas. But again, everybody has approached it with a can-do attitude right across the business, and that's really helped us get paint to these guys, which is obviously key.
Yeah, superb. Thank you. We've had to make a lot of decisions quite promptly and quite swiftly, but out of all those decisions, Andy, is there anything that you may have done differently in hindsight?
We've already started working on things that we noticed that were wrong about the company when we went into lockdown. So our biggest thing is the inefficiencies of the company. In the past kind of 6 months, we've had the time to reflect on that and start working on that already, and we've already started addressing a lot of those. So yeah, inefficiencies were our biggest problem. We're addressing them as we speak. So going forward, should there be any more problems, which I'm sure there will be, we will be more efficient, so therefore we will work better under those conditions.
So it's giving you a bit more time to focus then, really, in the situation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. More time to kind of focus on our jobs and our roles and chatting to clients and customers and doing the important things.
No, it's always good to hear a positive out of a negative situation. So it's giving you that focus so you can concentrate on your business needs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Yeah, develop relationships, make sure we're doing our jobs properly. That's it, really.
Cool. Steve, we're all about planning as well now. So how are you finding business out there, and how busy are you?
Business at the moment is astronomical, to be perfectly honest. We stopped taking bookings for this year back in probably late July. Currently, everything that's any inquiries coming through are being screened. what we're finding is that clients are still wanting, or customers are still wanting, the work's done yesterday, which we can't obviously tend to. So everything's being screened, and if people are willing to wait for a decent service, then New Year bookings are where we're at the moment. In terms of future plans, we're always looking to improve our service, and especially Harry, as you know, my apprentice. So we're trying to put a program in place so that he can come on board fully, hopefully this time next year, and that's his actual goal at the moment. So I've taken Ben on, as you know, and he will be leading Harry on the lower level stuff, while I concentrate on the higher end projects. So hopefully those plans will all fall into place.
Yeah, so as a small business, we're looking in the short term, so about 3, 4, 5 months ahead, something like that?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, definitely.
So, and then moving over to Matt, who's a painting contractor, how far ahead are you planning for now?
We are about 12 to 18 months looking forward now. The pipeline is full, which is excellent. But yeah, it's sort of the back end of 2021 and mid 2022 is when we need to start planning for. So we're starting to have conversations with current clients, but also new clients to talk about their pipeline. Just open up the conversation.
And running such a large business as Dulux, Alistair, how far do you have to plan in front?
I think firstly, it's great to hear that we've got some demand 12 to 18 months down the road from these guys. But so we generally plan 18 months ahead in terms of the production that we're going to make. We live in the UK. The seasons are fairly consistent. It generally rains and we get a bit of sunshine in the summer. So that obviously impacts what we make and how we make it. So at the moment, we are trying to cope with the huge demand that we've seen on the retail side of the business through COVID, and at the same time start to stock build for Easter. So we always say Easter is our Christmas in the retail world. We've got to now make sure that we've got enough paint ready to go out there and fill those shelves for that Easter period. So the key bit for us is really the next 6 months, but we plan 18 months ahead in terms of raw materials and planning.
Oh, wow. Now, if we can talk more broadly about running a business, Andy, there are 3 main areas that are so important with a business: cash, cost, and of course the customer, like you've already spoke about those relationships. Do you want to expand on that a little bit for me, on that, how Southgrove deal with these 3 core principles?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, cash is king. We work closely with our clients to talk about payments and when they're coming in, if they're paying in full, that kind of thing. But we are at the mercy of our clients, so they will pay us what they see fit a lot of the time. So we have to manage that very closely all of the time throughout the year. Cost, it's an internal thing. You've got to analyse your costs over and over again. Make sure you're not spending money on things you shouldn't be. And customer, that's the most important thing, because without customers, you don't have a business. So how you react to your customers, problem solving, be pretty proactive, try and save them money as well. That's really important as well.
Yeah, so giving them extra value.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Extra value is, that's what will get you in the door again and again and again. So, yeah.
Excellent. And Steve, I think, I'll ask the same for you. How do you manage your cost, your cash, and your customers?
I think from a business point of view, customers are key. You have to look after your customers, manage their expectations. I think with repeat business, it's all about the value and the worth that you give to those clients, customers, and I keep saying clients because the majority of my business are from repeat business. It's these customers are constantly having me do additional works, whether that be from painting a room in a house to then painting the whole of the house. And it's problem solving, all those sort of things. It's not just coming, they don't come to me just to paint a room. They come to me because they've got a room that's got a problem and it needs to be solved. They know that I'll go in there and just get on and do it, without any fuss. And what I've learned, from the whole of the COVID lockdown period, is that you have to manage those expectations. You've got to be consistent, and almost it's like Amazon-like, or even DDC, the way that they're now focusing on their business model, and the customer is being serviced in such a way that they're going to keep going back because they feel that there's that value, and that's exactly what we're trying to introduce to the business, and just make sure that customer feels that they're number one. So and I think the other bits, the cash, the cost, etc., looks after itself from that point onwards.
No, definitely. I think if you have your customer loyalty, the cost can sometimes isn't the main factor. It's the relationship that you build and the service that you provide. And with that relationship, hopefully you're going to get your prompt payments to keep the cash is king, as Andy rightly says. So, Matt, how do you balance such a company, the company that you have, with the workforce, but also the needs of the business? Because they do have to work hand in hand, and I suppose sometimes it's quite hard to get the balance right.
The balance is very difficult, but it's we find ourselves working different hours, longer hours. Our site visits are there to support our managers and supervisors, and to be there to be listening to a client when they've got a major problem, which everyone is still recovering from the lockdown. So we are literally everywhere in the office and out on the road. And because of the investment with the IT, we find ourselves going home, seeing the family, and then not watching your Netflix, not having a moment to yourself. You're there accessing the emails, your budgets, your specifications, to actually deal with problems that haven't been caused by us, but we're there to serve the customer. As Steve pointed out, our main job at the moment, and has been from pretty much the start of the year, is problem solving. And that is one of the key tools that we have to be able to adapt with each client, whether it's accelerating a program or finding a way to work very efficiently, not passing costs on to the client when really we should be. It's but to try and find the balance in all of that, there isn't really one. There isn't a balance. The balance is you've got to look after the customer. You've got to have open communication with your supply chain, and also the hierarchy of your clients to find out the communication that we're receiving about a problem, is that actually correct? Because 50% of the time it's false information, and we're reacting and dropping things to deal with a problem that really isn't. There isn't that kind of urgency to that problem. But to find a balance, I don't know. It's just unfortunately more hours, but the company's healthy, and the hours that we're putting in is like an investment for 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah, I think the huge benefits are those investments that you're making within technology, so you are more connected. But the downside of being more connected is we do work a lot more outside those working hours. So yeah, it must be exceedingly hard to find that balance.
Yeah, there isn't one. There's no balance.
So Alistair, we're kind of working out that we can't please all of the people all of the time, and we have an awful lot of people here at Dulux. So how do you adapt to look after everybody, to try and keep everyone happy within the business and the customers as well?
So I think the key piece is to listen, and listen to how people want to be served, how people want to be treated, whether that's coming into the office, whether it's working in a factory, working in a store, or a customer who's screaming for paint on site, and can't do anything without it. So trying to listen and trying to compute, and then going back to those decisions, trying to ensure that we set ourselves up properly to be able to really service all of those needs. And it's not easy because we're all different. It's probably a strength as well as a weakness, isn't it? We're all very different. So some people are so anxious about the whole COVID piece and pandemic, and rightly so, because many of them are shielding at home. And then at the other end of the scale, you've got people who brush it off as a bit of minor flu, and just want to crack on and almost forget that it's there. And then you've got thousands of people in between those two, and trying to manage it with the right deal of empathy, but also with the right deal of confidence, is really critical to ensure that we can keep running the business successfully.
Thank you. On more of a personal level now, mental health is a very important issue, more so than ever before. How have you managed your own personal mental health, Andy, with the pressure, the added pressure that we've had this year?
Yeah, hi Tony. It's really important, and yeah, like we all know, more important than ever. Kind of in contradiction to what Matt was saying, I think it's really important when you get home to try and switch off your phones, switch off your laptops, try and get away from it for a period of time. Obviously, you have to go back to it at some point, but clear your head for a little bit. Exercise is key. Get outside, go for a walk, spend time with the family, friends if you can, if the government will let us. Getting outside and exercising has been really important for me personally, on a personal level.
And Steve, how have you managed to kind of release some of the mental pressures of being throughout lockdown, but also how do we manage a business and that we don't know how we can manage just yet?
It's been a bit of a blessing in disguise, COVID, because it's allowed us to, I had 3 months where I wasn't working, during the first 3 months of lockdown, from March until, when was it, June/July, I think I went back. And we had quality time as a family. It allowed me to focus on what was important. So trying to get a proper work-life balance. And that included time with the family, coming home in the evenings, etc., and literally just switching off. The problem is that now it's so busy, it is very, very difficult, because not only have I got my own welfare to deal with, I've also got that of my partners, which I'm not winning. To be perfectly honest, it's nigh on impossible. But yeah, I'll be coming home. I'll be dealing with quotes throughout the day. I'll be writing up quotes when I come home in the evening, and then switching off, say, around about 7 o'clock, and then it's just family time. However, that even now really isn't good enough. So I've even gone to a point where I didn't do any quotes for a whole week and just closed the business down as soon as I walked through the door. So yeah, getting a balance is very, very, very hard. Especially, I will say, especially having somebody in the family who has a history of mental illness. So yeah, it is important, but it's not always possible, unfortunately.
Are you managing to look after yourself in that situation so you can look after other people as well?
I can look after myself. That isn't my issue. It's. I think my problem is actually focusing on others other than my clients. That's the difficult part for me. Obviously, clients are who are paying the mortgage. They're paying the bills, etc. But it's the family that gives you that life outside of work, and trying to get that correct so that it's the life that you're looking forward to and not the work that you're looking forward to. We're dealing with it. Hopefully we will win. Yeah.
I wish you all the best with that, and I really, really do. Running a small business, you don't always have that support network around you. So where can other small businesses and sole traders turn to for that extra bit of support when they need it?
As you know, I've been a sole trader up until recently, and I think with the help of certain forums, especially the Select Forum, decorators were normally quite alien to each other. There was always some form of rivalry, whereas now, with the social media, it's you're encouraged to befriend people and make friends, good friends. Last week, I God knows how many calls I I've received. As you probably know, well, as you do know, I'm a mental health first aider through the Dulux Select scheme, and I'm constantly receiving phone calls, whether it be daily, weekly, discussing personal issues, other issues as well, whether it be products or what have you, with other members. It's nice to be able to talk to other people, especially when you're at work. You know, having been a sole trader for so long, you're solitary. You've got nobody to talk to other than the client. Sometimes you don't want to be talking to the client. You just want to be focusing on the work. And what I had found is that that would be my escape, is going to work. Whereas now, having those phone calls, being able to have that communication channels, talking to other people, it certainly helps. It's almost as if you're working with other people, and it just keeps you sane. It certainly does. The downside to that is that your clients can quite quickly misconstrue what's actually going on, thinking that you're on the phone talking to your missus, or just having general chit chat and not actually focusing on the job, when you've got your headphones on and you're busy actually working on their projects. You're not stopping, you're not downing tools, and they just sometimes they question you and say, what are you doing? Why are you not doing my job? How can you spend so much time on the phone? And then you show them exactly what you've done. You just wallpapered the whole wall within X amount of time, and they're like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, great, thanks very much. But then when you actually speak to them and say that you need that time, you need to, you can't work 8 hours, 10 hours a day in solitary, because that is effectively what it is. And that's one of the blessings now with having a couple more members on board, Harry and Ben. That will certainly help my frame of mind, and just having that connection on a daily basis now, as opposed to escaping. It's I think I'll start seeing things in a different light, and probably being able to manage people on a different level now as well.
Yeah, and I suppose you've been there for other decorators as well, with being a mental health first aider, that they've got a port of call where suppose they feel solitary and they go, you know what, I'm not feeling great today, I'm up for a chat, let's get Steve's number.
They definitely do, and I've never complained about that. It's a privilege sometimes to have those people, have the bottle to air their stories with me, their problems, their concerns. There's obviously an element of trust there, because if they didn't trust me, if they didn't respect me, they certainly wouldn't be calling me to divulge such personal information. I will say it isn't easy. Obviously, keeping everything all secret, because it is secret. Everything's in confidence, and at the same time, it's probably even harder knowing that you're there for these people, but you can't always call the same people up to discuss your own problems. I end up probably in the same position that they are, by bottling everything up myself. But fortunately, we've got Vicky and the likes of Sean Kelly, for example, who there's some big names out there who are very, very supportive, very understanding. And I know that also that I can turn to them.
That's brilliant. And yeah, you kind of want to help other people, but sometimes you kind of forget to look after yourself. So please make sure that you do use that support network that's around you. And Matt, what support network do you have for yourself?
Well, after lockdown, we sort of realised that the pressure on the jobs will be the intensity will be greater than before lockdown. So we had a chat with our managers and supervisors, and gave them like an early warning of what was coming, like the different methods of work, COVID safe, but also the new pressures of everyone trying to play catch up. So we actively sort of spoke to the supervisors, and we we sort of, me and Andy pointed out a few jobs which were going to be high risk with extra pressures, and we've spoken to our supervisors, and there was one of our jobs, I think about 2 weeks ago, the intensity was ridiculous from our client. We were performing better than anybody on the job, but whatever we were doing on the job, it wasn't good enough, even though all the problems that the job had were nothing to do with us or painting. So, but our supervisor on the job, he was phoning me 3 or 4 times every evening. And me and Andy took the decision about 2 weeks ago just to withdraw him from the job because it was just getting too intense. We had high-level conversations with the clients. They agreed, and we withdrew from the job for about a week and a half. And we put all the guys on different jobs, and it was something that we tend to not to do, but in this instance, it was the right thing to do, just to withdraw the supervisor, withdraw the men, and it put everything into perspective.
That's good that you're kind of identifying that things weren't running well and it wasn't healthy for everyone concerned. So we need to make a change, and a big change.
Yeah. And to be honest, our client has supported that. And it is down to sort of mental health, and it is down to people trying to cope with something at work where maybe behind the scenes they at home, they're struggling with children or struggling with their relationships or just struggling if they live alone. It's been a very strange and difficult 6 months. And, we still got winter to come. And I think it's going to be, support groups and support networks at work have to be strengthened, because it's going to be, we're still going to be as busy as we have been. But now it's not spring anymore. It's, we're going home at, and it's going to be dark, and we wake up, it's going to be dark. It's not going to be, an easy few months ahead.
Yeah, I think we kind of do put that little bit of added pressure because we don't feel as full of the joys of spring. So as you say, when it starts getting a bit darker, the evenings are drawing in now. So we do feel a little bit more secluded. We want to hunker down a little bit, don't we? But we still have to go out and do these things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, support groups, whether the select group is a fantastic idea. And within our small company, we're going to have to maybe reapproach all our guys again, Andy, and sort of just to tell them that we're still there for you, and to keep on calling us. And it doesn't matter what time it is, just keep on phoning.
Yeah, absolutely. Alistair, being in the position that you are, and the decisions that you have to make, and your staff, they look at you for inspiration. You're giving them direction, so you have to be mentally strong. So how do you keep yourself strong?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge, really. So I mean, I think, like the others mentioned, when we first got into lockdown, I fully embraced it. So I could have dinner with my kids, which never really happened during the week before, and breakfast as well. I got into a bit of Joe Wicks, never quite made the 6-pack. So doing that with the kids was amazing, breaking off work and just having that flexibility. So there were some real highs that I really want to capture going forward and embrace the opportunity for more flexible working, and hopefully that everybody will have that opportunity to be more flexible now in how they work. But on the flip side of that, there's been some real lows. There's been times where I've wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning with the pressure of the decision. You think, am I doing the right thing here? Is it right for all of the people involved? What about that person who's the most anxious, who's nervous about just leaving the front door of their home? Our home, that front door threshold was huge, in May, June time, when people just weren't encouraged to leave their homes. So having that to think about, it really sort of prayed hard in terms of the decisions that we had to make as a leadership team for the business, and you do feel it. And I think just listening to Steve there, sitting on the sidelines of how the Select Group have operated, has just been incredible to watch. The whole Select forum how they've looked out for each other, how they've supported each other. Steve, first-hand, I can feel the sensitivity around it, because it's been seriously tough. And I really feel for anybody, goes to work in an environment where you haven't got the opportunity to be able to speak to somebody. And then I suppose finally, we're a people-based on business. The office across the road from here is normally 450 people in it. It's hustle, bustle, it's thriving with energy. And those people are now at home. We've got 35 people in the office. Everybody else is at home. Some of them real extroverts, desperate for a conversation and catching up with each other. And as Matt said, I think we've got a really tough few months ahead of us. The nights are going to draw in, and it's going to be colder, and not wanting to sound doom and gloom, but we've got to really look out for each other. And we've got a real challenge into the team at the moment. How do we keep the spirit and the culture really ignited as we head through this winter period? So hopefully we can take on board some of the learnings and use those to battle on through it and come out the other side in spring.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it doesn't matter what size business we are here. We're going from Steve, who's a very small business, to a large painting contractor, to a part of a global business. We're all focused on the same things here to kind of make sure we stay healthy, make sure we stay safe, and look out for each other and listen and communicate. Excellent. And on to our regular feature, the tools of the trade. We all need one particular tool that we're all the favourite with, that we can't do without. Alistair, what's your one tool of the trade that you think about at the start of every day, have I got this ready? I think as a painter, we all think, well, they have to have a paintbrush, but it goes beyond that. As the director of the business, what's that one tool that gives you the motivation to keep you going through the day?
So I can't say I think about this every day, Tony, and it's out there, so it's nothing to do with the business whatsoever. But it's a pizza oven, okay? And at the start of lockdown, we bought a pizza oven as a family, and joking about it, we within the first week, my kids had made some flyers and flyered the whole street. As you may well be aware, and we ended up making pizzas for all the street during lockdown on when we all came out to clap the NHS on Thursdays. And it's quite bizarre to talk about it in that way, but it's actually, I now know everybody who lives on our street, and I didn't before. The kids have now got their little business empire going. We've made thousands for charity, and actually it just reminds me when you ask the question, what's actually important to me. Of course, the business is important. That's, the day to day. But stepping back from it and going back to sort of the early days of lockdown, that's really connected us. And it's a really bizarre one to talk about, but we still now use it all the time and just have great fun with it. And it's a simple gadget, but something that we've used day in, day out. Well, not day in, day out, but certainly weekly through lockdown.
No, I think that will give you that focus that that's family time as well. And if you're raising money for charity, it's giving you the benefit of being able to do something greater.
Yeah, it's cool. And the kids got used to being able to handle cash and knock on doors and collect the debts and hand out, deliver pizzas. It was stressful for me because I was the chef. So I saw none of the action up front. I was just in the back, sweating away, making 30 or 40 pizzas in an evening. But it was brilliant fun, really, really good fun.
Can I put an order in for pepperoni then, please?
Certainly can.
12-inch. Thick crust. Matt, what's your little tool of the trade?
Hi, Tony. I think it's Andy here, by the way. I think Matt's just bought himself a pizza oven as well, so he'll have to go to battle with Alistair and see if he can. Pizza Wars. Yeah, Pizza Wars. Our biggest tool under lockdown has been problem solving. Really, that goes from dealing with all the COVID procedures, dealing with all our workforce, all our managers, supervisors, the office staff, and all of their problems and thoughts, but also clients as well, dealing with all the problems the clients throw at us, and also the problems that we create ourselves as well sometimes. And being able to problem solve is probably the single most important tool that we have as a company, because there's a lot of problems in construction. So, problem solving, yeah.
Is there any particular methods that you have to address those?
Not really, no. It comes through experience, I guess. We've both been doing it quite a while, so a lot of it comes through experience, I guess.
And
being
learning
able to listen and communicate is key.
and
really, to
prioritise.
everything. And prioritise, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And Steve, is there anything more physical that you use at all, or are we going to go for
Two answers, Tony. From a physical tool, the one that I constantly refer to every time I'm asked this question, and it's still there. Forget the sanders. They are there on the list, but it's probably one of the smallest tools, which is the Alpha BTC/1 razor edge scraper. It's a tool that's always in my pocket. It doesn't leave. It even goes in the washing machine. It's that well connected. It's just a fantastic tool, whether it be for prepping, finishing. Even when you're masking up, it's got so many different uses. But then on the non-physical, a thing that I'd like to put out there that hopefully resonates with other fellow decorators, especially after or with the COVID situation still there, is know your worth and recognise the value that you provide to the clients. And the reason I say that is that there were a lot of people who were put out of work because of lockdown, who then, because of the stresses and the financial stresses that were put on them, they would literally take any job at any cost, and therefore devaluing their own business and finding it very, very difficult to get back out of that. I, on the other hand, have been very fortunate in that I can cherry pick. My costs haven't gone down; they've actually gone up. But so has the value that I, give to everybody who chooses to use RPS Decor. So it's just one of those things that people need to reflect on and be strong about.
Excellent. No, I totally agree. You have to know what your worth is and never undersell yourself. No, absolutely. And Matt, outside of the new pizza oven that you've just invested in, what's your must-have tool?
I think it is my football boots. I get a lot of joy out of football training. I'm a coach with a local football team, and just looking forward to the season starting. That's going to be a long, hard season. The team they're a good bunch of lads, but they're not very good footballers. So we've got a lot of work to try and get them to compete in a game, let alone win a game. But it is good fun, and the boys really enjoy it. So that's my bit of R&R at the weekend.
So you manage during the day of workforce, but then you manage in socialise a team as well.
Well, yeah, try to manage, yeah.
But I'm sure it is good to get the boots on, though, to get out and about and get that fresh air that your brother was talking about.
Oh, yeah, it's really important. It's good fun. A lot of boys have been isolated and shielding. They're now coming back and part of the squad training, and they're just having a load of fun. They're under 16, so they're just having loads of fun together. So there's me and 3 other coaches that are supporting them, and we during training we just stand back and just watch them, and they're having loads of fun mucking around. It's good.
Brilliant. And again, that's for them. That's their release, isn't it? So that's good for them too.
Yeah. It's a bit tasty at the moment. It's good. It's good fun.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. So thank you, Alistair, for your precious time in joining us today. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Matt and Andy, for joining us at the Dulux Academy podcast. I think what I've picked up from you all, whether it's from running a huge company like Dulux, or from Steve running a very small business, or even with you, the brothers here with their contracting business, it's all been about being able to communicate to your customers, being about being able to adapt, but also to let the clients know how you've adapted to make them feel comfortable with the services that you're providing, whether it is selling a tin of paint and you're being able to provide that tin of paint, or whether it's for you, Steve, making your homeowners feel comfortable with being within their house and telling them what special measures that you're taking with your working processes, and for you guys to being able to manage a large workforce on site, but still being able to work safely and being able to look after your staff with regards to mental health. So always being able to move forward, but do it safely, but also how to communicate with each other and with your clients. That's all for this week. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time, and our next episode will be all about colour. Take care and stay safe.